Welcome to the Israel Daily News Podcast. I'm your host, Shanna Fold, and I'm here to get you caught up quickly. I've got some top news stories for you today from Israel, and guess what? You're listening, so you're all already on top of your game. Survive and thrive, people. Knowledge is the best weapon. Today is Thursday, April 17th, 2025 in the Gregorian calendar and the 19th of Nisan, 5785 in the Hebrew calendar. Now, let's get to the news. U.S. President Donald Trump reportedly rejected a proposed joint Israeli-American strike on Iran's nuclear facilities, opting instead to pursue diplomacy. Israeli officials had pushed for a week-long bombing campaign, hoping for U.S. support in their effort to disable Iran's nuclear program and deter retaliation. While some Trump administration officials, including General Michael Kurilla and NSA Mike Waltz, were receptive, internal divisions stalled the decision. Trump refused to discuss military plans over the phone with Prime Minister Netanyahu. They instead invited him to Washington, where he publicly announced direct U.S.-Iran talks. Netanyahu was caught off guard by the diplomatic pivot, though he later stated that if talks failed, military action would remain on the table. Negotiations between the U.S. and Iran are ongoing, with officials still divided between pursuing a deal or endorsing a strike, as Iran continues advancing its enrichment program and restricting international oversight. Russian President Vladimir Putin hosted freed hostages Sasha Trufanov, his mother Elena Trufanova, and his partner Sapir Cohen at the Kremlin on Wednesday. And the media says Putin was praising Hamas for what he called a humanitarian act in securing the release of them. I watched the video with subtitles. I did not think Putin was doing praise, but I do think it was shocking that instead of focusing on the hostages and their horrific journeys, he chose to say that they needed to give credit to Hamas officials for having followed through on the deal. Putin credited Russia's long-standing ties with the Palestinian people and its outreach to various groups, including Hamas, for facilitating the release. He told the former hostages that Russia would continue working to secure freedom for others still held in Gaza. Trufanov was kidnapped from Kibbutz Nir Oz during the October 7, 2023 Hamas-led massacre and was held captive for 498 days. His father was killed in the attack. Sasha's mother and partner were also both held captive, but were released in November 2023, reportedly as a gesture to Putin. Sasha was freed in February through a U.S., Qatar, Egypt brokered truce that later collapsed. Russian officials had met with Hamas leadership days before Sasha's release, and Putin's office released video of the Kremlin meeting, which also included Russia's chief rabbi and other Jewish leaders. A homely-looking man from Pennsylvania is under arrest for the crime of setting fire to Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro's residence on Passover Eve. He reportedly told police he carried out the attack in protest of Shapiro's plans for the Palestinians. Balmer, who called 911 to confess his own sin, claimed Shapiro was having my friends killed and expressed outrage over alleged injustices against Palestinians, linking his actions to both political and anti-Semitic motives. The governor of Pennsylvania, who is Jewish, has no role in foreign policy, yet state police say he targeted him based on his faith and perceived support for Israel. The fire caused major damage to the governor's mansion, where Shapiro and his family had just celebrated Passover. Photos show the entire living room and dining room was blown out by flames. No one was hurt. The attacker, the arson, who reportedly suffers from mental illness and had threatened to kill Shapiro, faces more than 100 years in prison, though officials have yet to determine if the attack constitutes ethnic intimidation or domestic terrorism. The incident has reignited tensions over the United States' support for Israel, with Shapiro previously facing criticism from far-left activists during the Gaza war and even being called Genocide Josh by anti-Israel protesters. Two legal advocacy groups in the UK have filed a request for an arrest warrant against Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar during his visit to London, accusing him of war crimes linked to Israel's military operations in Gaza, with a specific focus on an operation at the Kamal Adwan Hospital in Gaza in December 2024. The NGO's Belgium-based Hind Rajab Foundation and the UK's Global Legal Action Network allege that Sa'ar played a role in the siege and the detention and abuse of hospital director Dr. Hussam Abu Safiya, whom Israel suspects is affiliated with Hamas. The foreign ministry said Sa'ar will not alter his schedule, emphasizing the visit includes official meetings, such as speaking with the UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy, which may protect him from arrest under British law. Let me explain this issue about the warrant. The International Criminal Court, or ICC, is considering arrest warrants for top Israeli officials over alleged war crimes, which could severely restrict their ability to travel to countries that recognize ICC jurisdictions. If these warrants are issued by the countries, like, for example, the UK, Israeli leaders visiting parts of Europe and other signatory states could face arrest, setting off a diplomatic and legal crisis. Israel argues that it targets Hamas infrastructure while Hamas embeds itself in those civilian areas, including hospitals. Israeli leaders in the UK could be up for arrest and have been in this type of a threat before, like Tzipi Livni in 2009. That event led Britain to amend its laws to protect officials on diplomatic visits, but personal trips remain legally vulnerable. Hundreds of Palestinians in Beit Lahia, northern Gaza, staged a rare public protest on Wednesday, demanding an end to Hamas rule and calling for peace and freedom. Demonstrators chanted slogans like "No to terror, yes to peace," and "Hamas out," while waving flags, including Egypt's, likely in support of Cairo's mediation in hostage negotiations between Hamas and Israel. Social media footage showed protesters ejecting Hamas supporters who attempted to join, underscoring the intensity of public frustration. Clan leaders who wield significant influence in Gaza were seen participating, marking a notable shift in grassroots operations in the Gaza Strip. This protest is part of a recent wave of unrest that began in late March, defying Hamas's attempts to suppress dissent and contradicting its claims that demonstrators are just anti-war participants. I want to thank all of you for your interest in Israeli affairs, Israeli politics, our world politics. I also want to thank all of you who personally finance and fund the Israel Daily News podcast with monthly contributions. You can support us with contributions by going over to our new website, israeldailynews.org, and clicking on donate. The Patreon link is over there, and you can send us a monthly contribution using the Patreon link. There's also an option for a one-time donation. Our organization is operational thanks to listeners and supporters like you. Thank you to Marianne Vollinger for her monthly support. In response for your contributions, I'll send over a handwritten thank you note to show my appreciation. Follow us on social media at israeldaily.news. We're on X, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. Our page recently hit 14,300 followers. You can also follow my personal page at Shanna Fold. My name has 2 N's in it, and I'm very sensitive about that. Former Israeli First Lady Reuma Weizman has died at the age of 99. The wife of the late President Ezer Weizman, she spent decades involved in volunteer work with children in need. During her husband's tenure as president, she hosted numerous visiting dignitaries and accompanied him on multiple foreign trips. She also used her position to open up the president's residence to organizations assisting ailing children and those with special needs. She was also a champion for women's issues and an advocate for adult literacy. Born with the name Reuma Schwartz in 1925 in London, her Eastern European parents, Tzvi and Rachel, were immigrants to mandatory Palestine and stationed in the UK during her father's studies. When Weizman was a toddler, her family returned to Jerusalem and later sent her to a boarding school at the Mishmar HaEmek kibbutz in the Jezreel Valley. Her sister Ruth, who died in 2021 at the age of 103, was the wife of legendary Defense Minister Moshe Dayan and a prominent activist herself. Reuma met Ezer Weizman in 1949. He was already the Israeli Air Force's operations department head, and the two were married a year later by Chief Rabbi Yitzchak Halevi Herzog, the grandfather of current Israeli President Isaac Herzog. For the next 10 years, they moved around various Air Force bases in Israel, and their son Shaul and daughter Michal were born. In 1970, their son was seriously injured by an Egyptian sniper near the Suez Canal, and later, when Ezer Weizman was president, it was revealed that undisclosed funds were received and being used to finance Shaul's recovery, which led to his resignation as president in 2000. Reuma dedicated much of her time to Shaul's recovery, and in 1991, just a year and a half after he got married, Shaul and his wife were killed in a motor vehicle accident. 2 years later, Ezer Weizman was elected president, and Reuma stood by as an eyewitness to history. In 1994, she and Leah Rabin, the wife of Israel's then Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin, stood side by side with Jordan's Queen Noor and then U.S. First Lady Hillary Clinton, as Jordan and Israel signed a historic peace treaty. Months earlier, the Weizmans, as well as Yasser and Suha Arafat, attended the inauguration of Nelson Mandela in South Africa. In 1997, they were hosted by Queen Elizabeth II of the UK at a royal dinner at Buckingham Palace. 2 years later, they attended the funeral of King Hussein of Jordan. Ezer Weizman resigned just a year after this. His wife was present for so many of Israel's game-changing moments. Lady Weizman is survived by her daughter Michal and several grandchildren. We have a happy story that might get your tail wagging today. A Golani Brigade reservist soldier rescued a dog that was kidnapped from Kibbutz Nir Oz on October 7th. Billy, a 3.5-year-old Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, was found near Rafah and emerged from the rubble. Billy took care of this puppy in Gaza for 4 days and even brought her back to Israel, and she stayed with him and his family. Upon taking her for a microchip test, it was discovered she is the dog of Rachel Danzig, who was reunited with her dog in a special, heartwarming moment that the whole country was tuned in for. Danzig is the ex-wife of Alex Danzig and sister of Yitzhak Elgarat, both of whom were kidnapped and later murdered while in captivity. Hopefully having her doggy back will in some way quell her pain. Former hostage turned advocate Noa Argamani has been listed in Time magazine's 2024 list of 100 most influential people. She is a powerful symbol of resilience, as the image of her being abducted on a motorcycle by Hamas became one of the most haunting October 7th images. But the piece honoring her, written by First Gentleman of the U.S., Douglas Emhoff, has drawn criticism for failing to mention Israel even once, sparking backlash over erasure and political whitewashing. The omission underscores growing tensions around global narratives of Israel and the conflict, and raises concerns about how the stories of Israeli victims are framed or even excluded in international discourse. Here's the actual copy in the magazine. I'm a big believer in reading original texts, and I think the Israel Daily News community is into that as well. The following was written by American First Gentleman Douglas Emhoff. I'll read it to you. The video of Noa Argamani on October 7th, 2023 is forever seared into my soul. She was joyfully dancing with so many others at the Nova Musical Festival when Hamas launched its brutal terrorist attack. She was kidnapped into Gaza on a motorcycle. Her harrowing expression became a symbol of the pain and trauma Jews worldwide, myself included, continue to feel. Noa was held hostage for 245 days, a period she called a pure hell. Since her rescue, she has shown extraordinary courage and humanity in speaking out for the remaining hostages, including her partner, Avi Natan Or. My wife, Kamala Harris, and I stand with Noa in fighting for the release of all the hostages. We cannot give up until every one of them is home. Noa's advocacy has illuminated Hamas's extreme brutality, but more importantly, her bravery has embodied Jewish resilience and strength, even in the worst moments. She is living proof to the world that despite everything, we will dance again. All right. Well, that is it for today's show. Today is Thursday, April 17th, 2025. Tel Aviv has a low of 17 degrees Celsius and a high of 26 degrees. That's 62 degrees Fahrenheit for the low, going up to 79 degrees for the high. We are everywhere. Don't forget to sign up to our Israel Weekly News Wrap. The Israel Weekly News Wrap is a newsletter with the top 5 stories coming out of Israel from throughout the week, and of course with a personal note from me at the top. You can sign up for that at israeldailynews.org. I'll send you off with a song called Kef, which translates to fun, which is what the next few days of Passover should be for you all. The song is done by Lechem Lavan, which translates to white bread, and Voodoo Daddy. These two made the song. We have the link to that on Spotify in our show notes. Enjoy and have a great and productive day and an excellent weekend. Happy Passover and happy Saints Week to all who are set to celebrate Easter on Sunday. Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach, everyone. Happy holidays.
את רק רוצה את הגבוה, אני רק מנסה להילחם ברוע. יש לי בעיות, אתה יודע, תמיד חולם להיות 100 חברות, 1000 לייקים, מגן חברים, שעה שלוקח לי להבין ואומר כן ישר, כי לא נעים, מנסה להיפטר מזה כל הזמן, יש פוטנציאל חבל על הזמן, אין לך כוח, אני פה למלא זמן, רק רוצה תמיד לפרוח, אני רק צריך תמיד לצרוח, להביא את הכל בכל הכוח, לעשות מלא.
לא, אין לי ראש לשטאפים, אומר את זה מראש, אני אוהב מפורסמים. כן, חולה על פרמיירות, קו הלבנה, משמחת לבבות. תביא עוד פפרצי לפנים, פלש מסנבר, תשומת לב זה נעים. יש לי ויקיפדיה אבל אני לא מפורסם, כיף להיות אנדרדוג כל הזמן. יו יו, וורדלי פה בחוץ, לדבר על העבר שלא עושה אותו לחוץ. כולם עומדים למבחן, בעיר שנושקת לים. אף פעם בחיי עוד לא הרגשתי כמו היום, מחלק נשיקות בסדרות בן גוריון. לא שואל למה, רק שואל איך, כל עוד אני פה לעשות מלא.